As a bisexual man, I've had difficulties expressing my attraction without receiving disdain from others. Although I've had relationships with women, people still assume my attraction to women is fake and that I am just a closeted gay man. A good number of straight women find the thought of dating a bisexual man unappealing, while their male counterparts see bisexual women as a plus. Male same-sex intimacy is seen as something gross, while female same-sex intimacy is viewed as really hot to most people. Bisexual women can get away with being perceived as straight, but if a man even hints that he likes men, then he will apparently always prefer them over women. I wonder why that is. Thank you for all the honest answers. They definitely put more things into perspective. I hope people become more accepting of us in the future. Story 1. Thankfully, my girlfriend is understanding knowing that I am pansexual. However, I have had women directly call me a derogatory term for expressing that I was not straight. These are women who reportedly support the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community and often identify as bisexual or bicurious. The thing is, women in general behave strangely when they face competition and even more so when they worry about more than one gender. When they hear you are bisexual, their first thought is that you will cheat on them with a man. Meanwhile, they likely have many options in their direct messages. In summary, women everywhere often have significant double standards and in most cases do not practice what they preach. Story 2. There are many reasons, but as a bisexual man, the main issue in my experience is that people associate the giving end of phallic penetration and anything involving ejaculation in or on a person with masculine social status, that is, masculine dominance. As a result, bisexual men, if there is any perceived possibility that they bottom or even give oral sex, are seen as undermining the hierarchy of the dominating man and submissive woman within the heterosexual world, which remains highly valued and is often recreated in queer spaces. I have heard it expressed crudely as, how is a woman ever going to respect a man who performs oral sex on another man? This is a common form of biphobia, and people can be surprisingly blunt about it. This issue appears frequently throughout history and across different cultures, where same-sex activity between males of unequal social status is sometimes permitted or overlooked when the higher status man is the top, but not between social equals. Conversely, there are many examples where penetration by a man is understood as a mechanism that enforces masculine hierarchy, often expressed with phrases like, "He's going to make you his submissive partner." These cultural dynamics rarely receive explicit analysis but remain influential. Heterosexual people can often understand gay couples more easily because they can map a masculine/feminine dynamic onto them, which fits existing social frameworks. However, the fluidity of bisexuality combined with the hierarchical, domineering implications of phallic penetration makes many people uncomfortable. In my experience, if a man generally has sex with women and occasionally with men but clearly takes the dominant role, many people do not even consider him queer. The assertion of masculine dominance through phallic penetration is central to many people's views of sexuality and the formation of gender roles. Meanwhile, bisexual men are seen as undermining the integrity of masculine hierarchy because there is penetration, dominance, and ejaculation involved. In contrast, sex between two women, lacking any penis involvement, is generally seen as non-hierarchical, trivial, and inconsequential. The common perception is that those women are simply having fun. This idea is widespread once you become aware of it. Story 3. In my limited experience, the sexually transmitted disease risk was a significant concern. I had quite a few women say they would not take the chance with a bisexual man because they might catch something. There is also the assumption that you are on your way to being gay and will leave them for a man. Interestingly, bisexual women report similar fears from lesbians. That was the end of my bicurious phase. I have heard that the hot thing is actually kind of unpleasant for them because men think they will be open to threesomes. Story 4. I'm surprised nobody has brought up the bisexual erasure element. It tends to be that women's bisexuality is treated as just doing it for attention, and men are just gay and will not admit it. Story 5. I'm a straight man, but I think societally on a macro scale, bisexuality is viewed as solving certain issues for women and compounding issues for men. Also, what I'm about to say are not my views, just what I perceive as broad attitudes toward men and women. I think it all basically stems from men being viewed as more sexually promiscuous than women and more motivated by sex. I think straight women view bisexual women with a sort of must-be-nice attitude. Many women seem to struggle with men not having a lot of the characteristics they appreciate in the personalities of other women with whom they form platonic relationships. Many women also seem generally frustrated by the experience of dating men. So I think they view having the option to be attracted to women as almost preferable. If you have had too many issues dating men, you can always take a break and stick to women. On the flip side, bisexual men, I think, are viewed by straight women as compounding existing anxieties about men, because men in general are viewed as more promiscuous and therefore more likely to cheat. Many straight women have anxiety about men they are in a monogamous relationship with cheating on them. A male partner having sexual interest in hypothetical men, who are also perceived as more promiscuous than hypothetical women, is viewed as a significant negative for straight women and increases fears of infidelity. I think straight men basically view bisexual men as non-threatening. They are not meaningfully different from gay men. Finally, I think straight men fetishize bisexual women to some extent. Beyond that, society basically expects women to be faithful and not sexually promiscuous. Women are often viewed as more of an appendage of men or a sexual object and less as independent people. So I think mostly it has to do with how bisexuality impacts the existing lenses through which we already view male and female sexuality. Story 6. Despite many women claiming to be open-minded and inclusive, they often appear more homophobic toward men in general. This is a common trend that follows the mindset of many liberal women, which is that men are the enemy, even if there is no romantic interest. Story 7. I feel like this is a no-brainer. A straight man likes a woman. What is better than a woman for a straight man? 2 women. What is better than that? 2 women with a straight man. A straight man does not like man on man. I feel like I did a pretty good job with the caveman dialect. Story 8. My experience is, men when a woman likes men. Cool, maybe she likes me. Men when a woman likes men and women. Hee threesome baby. Women when a man likes women. Cool, maybe he likes me. Women when a man likes women and men, he is a gay man. Gay men are also treated poorly compared to lesbians. Additionally, there are countries where being gay is illegal, but being lesbian is not. Story 9. By Guy here, and I find that most men these days do not really care. For many men, a brother is a brother regardless of his sexual orientation. I do agree with some people who say that many straight women do not care for bisexual men. They often find it gross and a turn-off. It is what it is. Story 10. Isn't it the implication of anal sex? Not that lesbians or straight couples do not or could not, but it is not as common or forefront. Story 11. My theory is about penetration. Men penetrating other men is seen as worse than women having sex, as women are born without the means to naturally penetrate. I do not have, nor am I offering, an opinion on the matter, but that is why I think it is viewed differently. Story 12. I am a bisexual man about to get married to a woman. Someone who knew I was getting married soon recently found out I was bisexual. So he asked, "Well, what are you going to do?" I sincerely have no idea what the confusion was. If I want to be with a woman, I have a wife. If I want to be with a man, there is a whole wide world of adult content combined with the power of not cheating on my wife. Story 13. Honest answer. As a female, I find the concept of male anal sex to be repulsive. I also find anal sex repulsive regardless. I do not suspect many lesbians perform anal sex on each other, but I could be wrong. Story 14. It is like seeing large women in underwear on a poster in a store. There is no corresponding picture of a large man with a beer belly in his underwear. One is considered brave and amazing, the other is considered embarrassing. It does not make it right, but it is what it is. Story 15. I do not know. For whatever reason, women just unanimously find it gross and disgusting. I am sure there are exceptions, but 9 out of 10 times it is seen as an issue. I had a friend who was bisexual, but you would not be able to tell unless he talked about it. I am pretty sure him being bisexual led to the end of each of his relationships or prospects. Sad, to be honest. Story 16. Historically, many cultures define sex by who was being penetrated and who was doing the penetrating. Under this view, women could not have sex with each other because neither had a penis. This ignores the versatility of tongues, fingers, and various other implements. However, this belief was ingrained into various cultures that women physically could not have sex with each other. In modern times, we have a broader understanding of what sexual activity can be, and most people today in Western culture fully acknowledge that women can have sex with each other. However, artifacts of older culture occasionally appear where some people see two women together as fundamentally different from two men. Story 17. I would say it is a double standard or biased view described below. Bisexual male. A gay man who does not want to accept it yet. Bisexual female. A straight woman who likes to experiment sometimes. Story 18. I don't know if this is true anymore, but back in the day, many gay men believed that bisexual men were rarely actually bisexual. They thought most bisexual men were actually gay men who could not yet accept that they were gay and were trying to keep one foot in the straight community. Maybe that particular stigma has gone away over the years. I do not know, but that was definitely a belief in the 1980s and 1990s. Story 19. Women. Many straight men do not mind if their female partner is bisexual and has had same-sex partners in the past. Many straight women do mind if their male partner has had same-sex partners in the past. Story 20. Because when a woman is bisexual, it is a straight male fantasy. When a man is bisexual, it is not a straight male fantasy. It is really that simple. Story 21. A woman having sex with a man is perceived as effeminate. A woman having sex with a woman is perceived as effeminate. A man having sex with a woman is perceived as masculine. A man having sex with a man is perceived as effeminate. There is no perceived gender mismatch when women have sex with other women, but there is when a man has sex with another man. This is the only situation that creates the perception of a gender mismatch. Story 22. As a bisexual person, I am working on not caring anymore. No matter what demographic you belong to, there will be people who dislike you for it. It is easy to focus on the negative instead of the positive. Be honest about your sexuality and your desires, and it will serve as a filter to remove negative people. Yes, there will be some heartbreaking moments, but they will help you find your community. Good luck. Story 23. There was someone I dated, and early on we talked about sexual preferences and things we might want to try. She mentioned a mild interest in a threesome or potentially making out with a girl who was dating someone else while the boyfriends watched. I told her, I would not be comfortable with that situation. Strict monogamy is a hard line for me. Really? Even with another girl? Yes, female relationships are real. Two of my best friends are a lesbian couple who have been together for over a decade. Story 24. Homosexuality between men is often seen as a weakness or less than human by many men. I do not agree with this. I am just offering perspective. For example, watch a video of a store clerk trolling customers. The clerk handed a pink lighter to a man, and he became furious. Simply the suggestion of homosexuality can infuriate many men. Why is this? There are many reasons. Men in traditional society face pressure to be masculine from both men and women. What is the common stereotype of homosexual men? Being feminine. For some men, this is considered weak or wrong. Some even believe it is a disease that can be spread or that boys can be taught to be homosexual. Again, I do not agree with this personally. I am just offering perspective. There are also some with religious backgrounds who condemn homosexuality, and social status can be a significant factor depending on the environment. In some places, you could literally be killed if people find out you are a homosexual man. The situation can be even more difficult if you happen to be black. It is sad and wrong, but that is the reality. I grew up around a lot of diversity, so I do not care. However, depending on one's upbringing and environment, experiences may differ. I hope this provides perspective. Ideally, I wish people would just be allowed to live freely, but it is what it is. Story 25. They addressed this question on the Whatever podcast when they had a bisexual female panel. They asked the panel of women if they would date a man who is also bisexual. They all said no. Then they asked why they would date a bisexual woman but not a bisexual man. The response was that they prefer men they date to be strong and successful with women. Their answer was unusual because a man can be strong and successful with women and also be bisexual. It seemed their reasoning was, if you're successful, you would choose women. However, this aligns with some men I know who were originally straight but became gay after they couldn't get dates with women. Similarly, I know many women who became lesbian because they couldn't keep a desirable partner. Story 26. Honestly, I blame representation. Bisexual media is overwhelmingly skewed toward bisexual women, specifically bisexual women who are treated as lesbians. The rare instances of bisexual representation tend to be bisexual women alone. It is rare to see a bisexual man, let alone one not ending up with men. Even rarer is the depiction of bisexual men in healthy relationships with women in media. It is also common in these stories to portray bisexual men as cheaters or secretly gay. Casual biphobia and the impact of AIDS, which wiped out a generation of gay and bisexual men, have resulted in fewer prominent voices. There is little support for bisexual men, so they tend not to come out as bisexual. Additionally, women often do not examine their own biases despite frequently expecting men to do so. This combination leads to persistent stereotypes going unchallenged for years, lack of visibility, and an inability for people to reflect on themselves while demanding others reflect. Story 27. Bisexual women with straight men is attractive. Bisexual men with straight women is a turn-off and can be seen as emasculating, which changes opinions. There are some tolerant people, but in the majority of my experiences with disclosure to potential partners, about 90% have shown instant loss of interest or outright biphobia. Story 28. I think bisexual women have the inverse problem where they call themselves bisexual and people assume they mean straight but will kiss girls sometimes for male attention. Bisexuality in general is not as acceptable to people, probably because it is easier to compartmentalize people into either gay or straight. There is no solution besides living openly and proudly as a bisexual person. Story 29. This question is one that people cannot answer truthfully on Reddit. You risk losing your account if you do. Story 30. Because much as women hate to admit it, they are far more homophobic than men. It is like night and day. Story 31. While it is something I have not seen too often, I have observed it in people. When I have seen it, it is usually directed at bottoms or men who are into receiving. I have never heard any judgment of bisexual men I know who are tops. Interestingly, the same judgmental men had similar views on straight men who were into pegging. They could not understand how a man could be into it without being at least bisexual. Story 32. Because masculinity is partially defined by a man's ability to attract a woman, men who do not seek women are considered emasculated. To be clear, we are talking about social and cultural structures and norms. I am describing how things are, not how they ought to be. Story 33. 1. Some people find anal play distasteful, assuming it is part of male sex, right or wrong. Male sexual activity has the highest rates of sexually transmitted infections, particularly human immunodeficiency virus. Lesbians have the lowest rates of sexually transmitted infections, up to 10 times less than heterosexual women. Male homosexuals experience the highest rate of mental illness among non-transgender orientations, higher rates of violence relative to lesbians but much lower cattiness ratings. No judgment here. There are good external reasons why this occurs. Story 34. One reason is that men are held to a higher standard while women are given more leeway. A good example is fashion, where women can wear almost anything but men are more restricted and would be ridiculed for the same items. Additionally, female-on-female sex typically involves no penetration without toys, making it a lighter form of sexuality. Men are usually assigned leadership or dominance roles. Any devout role clashes with that, which was also considered taboo in antique bisexuality. Story 35. Without fail, every woman I have dated whom I told that I am bisexual has almost immediately tried to make me her gay best friend and started treating me as less of a man. Every man I have dated and told that I am bisexual has almost immediately become hostile and treated me like I am some kind of fence-sitting traitor to the cause. I have not been comfortable talking about this with either men or women for many years. Being a bisexual man can be hard. Story 36. As a bisexual person, I have wondered this exact thing. I have received the most objection or disdain from the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community. Ironically, most people find bisexual women attractive and bisexual men as confused and likely closeted, homophobic gay men. This is crazy because I truly enjoy both sexes equally. It is good to see someone ask this question. Story 37. Because some people feel discomfort at the thought of male same-sex intimacy. They like to believe that anal sex never occurs in heterosexual relationships. Story 38. Homophobia against gay men is deeply rooted. Everyone does it, including gay men themselves. When was the last time you heard someone use the word gay to express disapproval? And when was the last time you heard someone use the word lesbian that way? For example, "Oh my gosh, Becky, you're such a dyke for buying that Subaru." Or, "Tommy got the V6 Mustang. That thing is so gay." It is clear which expression sounds more realistic. Story 39. Men find the thought of two women having sex arousing. Women find the thought of two men having sex disgusting. Story 40. God, I'm kind of surprised that is still a thing. I remember experiencing that in high school, but since then I have curated my social circle to avoid that. As to why, there is a pervasive notion that same-sex attraction among men is depraved and gross, while same-sex attraction among women is innocent or even sexy. This has to do with how straight men and women present their sexuality in our culture, with men being accepted as more crass and forward, often to the point of horndog stereotypes, and women being expected to be more chaste and reserved lest they be known as a slut, even though those same men secretly love sluts. Then people look at same-sex attraction through that same lens and reduce it to lesbians and gay men, the former being just women having fun, and the latter reminding people of the AIDS epidemic. But that is just my bisexual 2 cents on the matter. Story 41. A woman's sexuality is often not taken seriously due to prior societal standards influencing current thoughts. Many men do not respect lesbian couples and assume it is just a phase. Some men may have open relationships and not feel insecure with their female partner sleeping with other women, but may feel uncomfortable if she wants to sleep with another man. Bisexuality is more condemned in men for various reasons. Men are stereotyped as the dirtier gender, so the idea of two men having sex is not seen as sexually appealing, especially with the involvement of anal play. Many also find anal play unpleasant due to the potential presence of fecal matter, and because it is considered unnecessary for sexual pleasure. Additionally, anal sex carries a higher risk of contracting sexually transmitted diseases, including human immunodeficiency virus. This adds to the stigma. Men are also stereotyped as more sexually promiscuous and reckless if given the opportunity. This leads to the assumption that all bisexual men engage in risky, unprotected anal sex with many one-night sexual partners. Due to a wider range of options, bisexual men are often assumed to struggle with monogamy or respecting boundaries in polyamorous or open relationships because of a stereotyped insatiable male sexual drive. Another stigma is that many men who identify as bisexual eventually realize they are gay, leading to the belief that bisexuality is a step toward coming out rather than a fully realized sexuality. Although most bisexual men end up in heterosexual relationships, they tend to be quieter about their sexuality and lived experiences. Therefore, many individuals' exposure to bisexual men is limited and influenced by stereotypes and negative media portrayals. Story 42. It seems like many young women identify as bisexual now, so I think a lot of men do not believe it. I know several who say they are, but have not had any experiences with women. Story 43. It should be noted that bisexual women receive the same kind of phobic comments from lesbian women, such as being told they are actually straight or will end up choosing a man. Overall, women tend to be less tolerant of bisexual people. Bisexual men get more criticism from straight women than from gay men, and bisexual women get more criticism from lesbian women than from straight men. Story 44. Many men like sex. Men would approve of two women kissing and still see them as feminine. Women don't think bisexual men are masculine, and feminine men are a turnoff to many women. They can be friends, but more than that is a no for many women. Story 45. Honestly, girl-on-girl action has been ingrained in society as attractive by many different males, and the threesome fantasy probably contributes to why bisexual women are more readily accepted compared to bisexual men. While a threesome with one woman and two men is definitely a thing and something some women might fantasize about, I don't believe it is nearly as prevalent as the reverse. This is just my opinion on the topic and could be off the mark. Story 46. There is an almost perfect inverse relationship between bisexuality and homosexuality in men and women. Women are about 2 to 1 bisexual over homosexual. Men are about 2 to 1 homosexual over bisexual. This leads to the perception that women are naturally more sexually fluid, while men who are bisexual are seen as just halfway out of the closet. Story 47. I think part of it is pornography. Most men do not want to see another man naked, so lesbian pornography means you get 2 naked women and no naked men. Story 48. My take on it is that it stems from the cliché of a young gay man understandably identifying as bisexual before eventually coming out as gay, either as a way to ease into a queer identity or because he sincerely believes himself to be or hopes to be bisexual for a time before realizing he is gay. I am sure it is less common in younger generations, but it was quite common when I was growing up and people were coming out. I find that women are less likely to date a bisexual man because of the stereotype that a man who says he is bisexual is just pre-gay. With women, I have found that men are less likely to be bothered by the idea of a woman competing for his partner's affection or, alternatively, believe that bisexual women are really just straight or have a stronger preference for men. I am definitely misquoting it, but I once saw all of the above articulated wonderfully, and the author ended with people have a harder time conceiving of a sexuality that only partially includes men rather than excludes them completely or focuses on them exclusively. Either they are the desired group, or they are not. Story 49. For men and most women I know, it is a fact that women are more sexually appealing. Most women have seen a superstar or female model and thought, she is hot. You rarely see anyone doing that with men. Even straight women rarely physically objectify men. Story 50. Personally, I do not want to date a bisexual woman because of more competition, and I fear that it is easier for her to attract women than me. However, I believe every woman is bisexual at this point. As a straight man who is insecure and emotional, everyone thinks I am gay. So it is not just LGBTQ plus people whose sexuality is erased. Story 51. Why is it more accepted for women? That should be the real question. Outside of casual relationships, men are usually held to extreme social standards. Story 52. I don't like male homosexual pornography for the same reason I don't like female homosexual pornography. I like to imagine myself in the scene. For male homosexual pornography, I do not have a role to imagine myself in, and for female homosexual pornography, I am not attracted to other women. I personally see bisexuality in men and women as the same and have no idea why people care. If you find the person attractive, I don't see why you would not date them. Why would finding out they were bisexual change everything else about the person? Story 53. Men often fantasize about 2 women. I do not believe women fantasize about 2 men being together. If men hear that a woman is bisexual, it excites them. They consider the prospect of a threesome. If a woman hears that a man is bisexual, I think it raises red flags. My guess is their thought, does he want me to touch his butt? This is a minor factor. Story 54. I hate to say it, but would you rather watch Salma Hayek and Sofia Vergara make out or Henry Cavill and Chris Evans? Which do you think would generate more buzz? Story 55. Because if a woman has sex with another woman, it does not automatically make her less of a woman in men's eyes as well as other women's. However, if a man has sex with another man, it automatically makes him less of a man, especially in women's eyes but also in other men's. Story 56. Just asking, would a bisexual man find another man lower maintenance? And some women know they could not compete. Example, a bisexual man calls his girlfriend, needs to pay for a date, be nice all night, and maybe get some. B. The bisexual man calls his boyfriend saying, I'm horny, when can you come around? He immediately knows when he is getting some, and the boyfriend drives himself on time or early, maybe they go out afterwards. C. The bisexual man calls his girlfriend, needs to pay for a date, be nice all night, gets nothing but stress and poverty, then calls a side boyfriend who says, come over for an hour or sleep here, I have work tomorrow. He sleeps happily. It is spite and resentment. I dated bisexual men and asked one. He said all the females in his family were madly homophobic. They all knew he was attracted to both genders. They all knew having a boyfriend meant no grandchildren. He was lectured about making grandchildren, not about safe sex. Story 57. I don't have a problem with a person's sexuality. That's their business. I can understand female homosexuality, but I don't understand male homosexuality. Granted, I am a straight male. I don't see how women can be attracted to men, let alone a man being attracted to men. But at the end of the day, you do you, man. Don't worry about what others are thinking. That's their issue. Live your life and be happy for as much of it as possible, because we only have a fraction of time here in this life. Make of it what you can, and to hell with the rest. Story 58. Of the 8 or so bisexual or gay men I have encountered, I have only gotten along with 2 of them because those 2 were either not interested in me specifically or accepted my rejection. The other 6 were not taking no for an answer. I would love to be friends with more bisexual men, but bad experiences have given me an initial reaction of hesitation. Story 59. Because there is something about domination where penetration equals domination, and many women would not want a dominated man. I am simplifying a lot, but you get the idea. Story 60. Imagine, you are a woman. Do you feel it is wise to tell your friends or society at large that your partner was unfaithful? Imagine, you are a man. Do you face the same risks saying your partner was involved with another woman? It is that simple. Story 61. Honestly, I find that generational trauma plays a part, and many men do not accept that it is okay for a man to love a man. Men's mental health and talking about it play a role, as men in particular have been told to hide their emotions by all genders. Not everyone tells them this, but men in general, for many generations, have been told to hide their feelings and emotions. They have been told that it is not okay for them to cry, feel their emotions, or share their thoughts. This contributes to a man loving another man being seen as abnormal, causing him to think, this is not normal. Why am I feeling like this? This is wrong and not okay. Many factors contribute to this, including religion. As a woman, I am not disgusted by a man loving another man. Love is love, and it is wholesome when one can share it safely with another and is accepted by the one receiving the pure love. We need to normalize men's mental health and accept that it is perfectly okay and normal to have feelings and to be curious about their same gender or others. We need to accept, support, and help those in our lives and others who struggle with being themselves. Men need to know it is okay to feel and to speak about how they feel. Story 62. Because it's hotter. But even as a lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and other sexual and gender minorities plus ally, if I had a son and a daughter and both were gay, I feel like the son would need more coaching. If the daughter were straight or bisexual, it would be the same. Both need to be taught about consent and safety, but anyone who is being penetrated needs to take extra precautions. Anyone performing penetration needs to take those precautions as well. So a girl who is only interested in girl-on-girl intimacy. Obviously, you need to go over consent, and there are probably some issues I am not aware of as a man, but both should want to be there, be eager and excited, and mutually consent to any escalation of intimacy beyond what was previously consented to, especially with a new partner. But with the girl, before she realizes she likes girls or does not like guys, you still want to have the talk with her and make her aware that she will have these urges. Everyone does. However, the girl risks getting pregnant and all the consequences that come with that. There is also a greater risk of sexually transmitted infections or diseases for the one being penetrated, since the orifice being penetrated is subject to tearing or cuts, and the bodily fluid stays inside that person longer. For a gay or bisexual guy, the risk is doubled. If he were straight, the risk is slightly less since he is typically only penetrating and not being penetrated. There are receptive and insertive dynamics to consider, but from my perspective as a middle-aged straight married man, I can only consider how I would coach a young person in this situation, not ask them about their roles. It is not my business, assuming their safety, comfort, and mental well-being are priorities. For a guy who cares about a gay man or who is bisexual and sexually active with men, there are heightened concerns for safety and health. This does not even include people outside the relationship who might wish harm for any foolish reason. From this perspective, gay sex is more dangerous, so it tends to be the focus. As for dating, insecurity may play a role. A straight woman dating a bisexual man does not want another man involved. A straight man dating a bisexual woman often wants another woman involved, though that can be a red flag if the bisexual woman is seeking a relationship. It is important to note that bisexual does not mean looking for a three-way relationship with one of each. The bisexual individual is likely just as happy with two men or two women, but if they want to be with one person, they will be with one person. I do not know why this is hard to understand. As a straight man, I am not bisexual, so maybe I do not fully know what it is like. However, I am attracted to white women, black women, Asian women, and others. I am married to a white woman. That does not mean I need a black woman and an Asian woman on the side. I made my choice and I do not cheat. Nearly 19 years married, I never have. Who we are attracted to informs who we choose, but attraction to different people does not mean we will cheat. Male-on-male intimacy is seen as gross because it is different and unexpected. People my age did not grow up seeing it. I had gay and lesbian family members, but they were not very open about it in the 1980s. It is fine for me, but others are less exposed to and less informed about diversity, so they are bothered by what is unfamiliar. Portraying same-sex relationships as equal on television shows such as The Good Doctor and Star Trek Discovery can help people in less diverse environments become better exposed to diversity. Yes, Asher and Jerome on The Good Doctor are both bearded men, but they look good together. That is coming from a middle-aged straight man who is not attracted to men at all. Those two work for each other. Neither works for me, but they fit and make sense. I know how the story ends and I am still salty about that, but it is the journey, not the destination. Despite current political issues, I think society in general is moving toward acceptance. Story 63. As a bisexual man, I remember telling a gay man I met at a pub that my recent ex at the time was a girl. He replied with the question, "Girlfriend?" with an obvious look of disgust on his face. Story 64. Factor 1. Gay men have generally faced more hostility throughout history. Even in recent history in the United States and the United Kingdom, gay men risked physical abuse, legal prosecution, social isolation, forced castration, and job loss. Lesbian women were frequently spared much of this. In the United Kingdom, there were never laws against female homosexuality. The current landscape is partly a continuation of the prior one, however unfortunate that may be. Lesbian women do face issues with being fetishized, harassed, and perceived as something fixable, along with the usual challenges of being a woman. Factor 2. A significant part of this is the idea of male sexuality being dirty. If someone has sex with a man, they are considered permanently dirty and feminized. Women face shame if they have sex with too many men. Men are shamed if they have sex with any men, and neither women nor men face shame for having sex with women. Factor 3. Another factor is that gender roles are much more stringent for heterosexual men than for heterosexual women. A man has fewer options to behave and express himself without losing his masculinity in the eyes of those around him. A bisexual man, by virtue of being a man attracted to women, probably already faces many subtle factors working against his perceived masculinity. Being bisexual just tips the scale too far away from masculine. For example, Henry Cavill is seen as a near-perfect man. He is attractive, kind, charismatic, intelligent, has a deep voice, is muscular, has a strong jawline, and is traditionally masculine overall. If he were revealed to be bisexual, he would likely still be widely accepted because of how admirably masculine he otherwise is. On the other hand, if Bob, a balding accountant with social anxiety and a nasal giggle, were revealed to be bisexual, many women might perceive him as not masculine. Factor 4. Lastly, there is the penis preference mentality, the notion that bisexual men are secretly closeted homosexuals who prefer men, while bisexual women are only bisexual for attention and also prefer men. Either way, this is definitely a topic that needs more attention. Toxic masculinity is enforced by both genders, and I believe biphobia is a major cause of toxic masculinity. As a society, everyone benefits when we reduce biphobia. Story 65. That is why I do not date straight women as often. I date bisexual, pansexual women, men, or transgender people when possible. Story 66. So what they think, mate. It doesn't matter what people deem acceptable. It's about what you find acceptable. If you are attracted to both sexes, then you get the best of both worlds. The world is full of homophobia, misogyny, and sexist behavior, and it just sucks. Story 67. I am not homophobic, but I have my views on this. I am aware of the Kinsey report, but I have a feeling bisexual men lean more toward the homosexual side. In other words, they are more attracted to men than to women. I may be wrong, and I ask for forgiveness if I am. One theory I have is that men have to have an erection to perform, but women do not. You can simply use lubricant in the vagina. Another theory is that women give birth to both genders, whereas men do not. Both males and females suck on women's breasts, and both come from the female vagina. Women are more comfortable being physical with both genders. Also, males are naturally attracted to femininity. Female genitals are designed to receive male genitals. Men do not have a place to receive another male other than the anus. I understand that males who are attracted to other males are born that way, and that is just who they are. It is not uncommon for bisexual males who have experience with women to come out as gay later on. This is a complex subject, and there are no definitive answers. Only you know how you react to each gender. Homophobia is often an attempt to cover up the fact that someone might have homosexual tendencies. There was a study where sensors were placed on the penis while showing male pornography, and men who claimed to have no reaction were detected as having one. Most straight men are not attracted to men. I remember when I was a young adolescent, my friends would masturbate in front of each other. For me, it was a shock and a turn-off. I do not consider myself homophobic. I worked as a hairstylist for 30 years and have been straight my whole life. I fully accept homosexuality and am not judgmental. I do not think homosexual sex is gross. It is what gay men need, and they should not be expected to be anything else. For me, it is just hard to understand how someone could be attracted to both genders sexually. Story 68. As a bisexual man, it is strange to see judgment from both ends of the spectrum. Sometimes women have issues and think you are closeted, and sometimes men think that you are just straight and looking for attention. Neither makes any sense to me. The most unreasonable accusation is that bisexual people cheat more often, which is not true. Cheaters cheat, regardless of sexuality. I am simply attracted to people I am attracted to. Story 69. Lesbians are not only typically oversexualized, but they are also non-threatening to what the mainstream defines as traditional masculinity. People who follow rigid gender roles are more threatened by male homosexuality because it challenges the traditional male gender role. Story 70. I know it is a wrong answer, but it is much more attractive to see two women kiss than two men. Even putting aside the sexual component, it is cute to see two women pawing at each other like playful kittens, and there is a sort of inherent non-threatening quality to it. Feels very natural. Story 71. Women are always judged more subtly than men, where it is more straightforward. This is the same reason why there are many average-looking women, but men tend to be seen as either unattractive or very attractive. However, I cannot explain why this phenomenon exists. Story 72. Misogyny. The worst thing a man can do is behave in ways associated with women. However, the opposite is not true because women behaving in traditionally masculine ways are seen as upstanding and worthy of being emulated. A successful businesswoman who runs her own company and plays golf with fellow chief executive officers is powerful. A stay-at-home dad who cares for his home and family is weak. A woman wearing pants is professional. Men wearing skirts is highly inappropriate. Women who take an interest in sports or mechanics are cool and confident. Men who are passionate about beauty, fashion, and similar interests are seen as weak. Women who refuse to cry or act out emotionally are tough and resilient. Men who cry are criticized. Gay women are seen as attractive or even sexy, but gay men are considered disgusting, an abomination, and a disappointment. Misogyny does not only hurt women, it hurts men too. Story 73. Same-sex male engagement is perceived as less masculine, while same-sex female engagement is seen as detracting from femininity. Both men and women seem to feel this way. It is not fair, but it is what it is. Story 74. Virtually every girl I have been with experimented with other girls as a teen. It was safe, no chance of pregnancy, and penetration was not involved in most cases, so they felt it was less intimidating. At that point in their life, the idea of a boy ejaculating inside them, of his body being inside theirs, of him leaving his sperm inside them was scary for almost all of them, by their accounts. So being with a woman felt safer, gentler, and more romantic. In contrast, they were all universally turned off by the idea of male-male sex for the same reasons. Penetration. They all liked female-female pornography, followed by male-female pornography, while none of them liked male-male pornography. A couple described male bodies in pornography as unattractive and female bodies as beautiful, explaining that this was why they preferred lesbian pornography. A couple also noted that they saw more violence in heterosexual pornography and more gentleness in lesbian pornography. Some of them were into threesomes, but only with 2 women and 1 man. The same reasoning was given: penetration and violence. Talking with them, it seems to come down to penetration, the deposition of sperm inside another's body, and violence. Several were surprised by that, as adults said real sex with real men was not violent. As adults, all but 2 of them love heterosexual sex: penis vaginal, oral with swallowing, a couple deep throat, 2 anal. Interestingly, none of them like condoms. As adults, a few of them are still bisexual, but most switched to just men after age 21. Sample size: 13, not a statistically sized sample. Story 75. As a straight man, I absolutely understand being attracted to women. So, women being attracted to women is also easy to understand. I do not understand being attracted to men. Men being attracted to men does not make sense to me. Women being attracted to men also does not make sense to me, but I need it to exist. Otherwise, there would be no woman. Story 76. Women are at a higher risk of sexually transmitted diseases statistically when they sleep with men who have sex with men. A majority of sexually transmitted diseases are not preventable with a condom. Story 77. Culture plays a large part in that, so you will probably receive more unhelpful answers than helpful ones. In my part of the world, it is generally accepted with little difficulty by those I have talked to. Story 78. Women have been perceived as more flighty, emotional, and childish. However, they can accomplish many things that men cannot. Story 79. I think it is becoming more accepted, just at a slower pace. But I know what you are saying about the straight women. I think they love gay men because they see them as women, in a way. Bisexual men are still men to them. Maybe that is oversimplifying it a bit, but I do not feel it is too far off. Story 80. If you treat hotness as voltage, as Electric 6 argued you could, then women are wired in series and men are wired in parallel. Story 81. I have entertained, talked to, and dated 3 bisexual men. I will admit my judgment is not in working order, but all 3 lied to me or were very untrustworthy. I was open-minded and interested enough in each of these men, at separate times, that I let everything play out, and it happened with each one in a different way. So I will most likely never do this again. Story 82. It is because of us heterosexual males. It is our fault. As Jerry Springer's audience always said, we love the idea of lesbians. Add to that most women find women attractive, and you have a majority vote for bisexual women being just fine. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.